You don't need any of this. Well, not anymore anyway. But what you are going to need is a lot of time, a lot of willpower, and unfortunately, a lot of money. While there are some alternate paths you can take, I'm going to go over the steps that the vast majority of architects take. If you find this information helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to get more tips. So step one, you just have to have interest in architecture. Ideally, this is going to come in high school. A lot of the colleges will require you to apply directly to the architecture program, but not all of them. Most, if not all, architecture schools have studios that have to be taken sequentially. If you go in undecided and then halfway through the first semester you decide, I think I want to do architecture, you'll have to wait basically a whole year and start again at the beginning of your second year. Now, this comes back to the willpower I talked about. You're gonna have to have a genuine interest at this stage to make it to the finish line. Now, if you don't have interest in architecture at this point and you go to college for something else, you can still become an architect. It's just gonna take a couple more years. So step two, education. You'll have to go to a college that has an accredited undergrad or graduate architecture program. NAB, or the National Architecture Accrediting Board, is the body that decides which architecture programs are gonna be accredited. NAB basically makes sure that students are being effectively taught and demonstrating competency in their area of study. Again, in the vast majority of paths, accreditation is a must. There are generally three paths you can take. You can either go to a 5-year undergraduate degree that's accredited, and then you're done. You just have that 5 years. You can do a 4+2, which is a 4-year unaccredited, usually Bachelor of Science of Architecture, and then a 2-year accredited Master of Architecture. Those can be at the same school or at different schools. So that'll be 6 years in total. So the last path is for those of you that weren't interested in architecture in high school and you got a degree in something unrelated. In this case, you'll go to a school where you can get an accredited Master of Architecture degree, but that's usually going to take 3 to 4 years since your undergraduate was unrelated. That's going to be the longest path. That's probably 7 to 8 years. Now, some universities will require you to apply directly to the architecture program at the same time you're applying to the college in general. And a lot of those colleges will require a portfolio of your high school work. You're probably thinking the same thing I was thinking. What the hell do I have to put in a portfolio? I just decided I wanted to do architecture like yesterday. So for me, my portfolio was pretty terrible. I had some projects from art class in high school. I had some photos of buildings I took on vacation. I had a few sketches of like my house and my friend's house. Just was not very good. My advice to you is to just scrounge together what you have and just show a wide variety of medium. That's the best you're gonna do. Now let's talk about the cost of architecture school, because it's not cheap. It's not just the standard tuition, room and board, meals, and textbooks that most majors can expect. You'll have a huge list of drawing and modeling supplies that are required right from day one, plus a computer that's probably maxed out in specs. Then you'll have endless consumables like chipboard, cardboard, knives, glue, wood, and some of the most random shit you could never fathom until you need it. I once had a project where I had to buy PVC pipes, car sponges, and pumpkins. And don't forget about the cost of laser cutting per minute that a lot of schools are going to charge you now. Trying to find estimates for architecture school is next to impossible, but the ones I found range from $100,000 to $360,000. And that's heavily dependent on the university, the type of degree, and how long you're there. Like I said, don't expect it to be cheap. And even if you can afford architecture school, it's not as easy as just getting in and riding out your 5 or 6 years until you graduate. A lot of students will drop out in the first 3 years, myself almost included. I wasn't able to find any reliable data on the percentage of dropouts in architecture school, but just from my own experience, we started with 72 in my class and we graduated just 45. That's 38% of the students that dropped out before graduation. Architecture school just isn't for everybody. All right, step 3, experience. You're gonna need to get a job where you can get paid to work under a licensed architect, so you can start accruing hours toward your Architectural Experience Program, or AXP. First, you'll need to sign up with NCARB, which is the National Council of Architectural Registration Boards. They're really just a middleman that's gonna take more of your money for no reason. Signing up will cost $100. Next, you'll need to start logging your hours towards 6 different experience categories: practice management, project management, programming and analysis, project planning and design, project development and documentation, and construction and evaluation. So NCARB provides guides on what type of work activities fall into each category. In total, you'll need 3,740 hours spread across the 6 categories to complete your experience requirement. Now, if you have an internship while you're in college, start recording your hours then. You don't need a college degree to be able to record hours. Then you'll need to find a licensed architect at your firm that can review and approve your hours as you submit them. Step 4, the best one, examination. Before, during, or after you start accruing your experience hours, you can start taking your AREs, or Architectural Registration Examinations. But you will need your degree before you start these. There are 6 exams, one matching each category in the AXP. Although in 13 states, you'll need to take an additional state-specific exam. NCARB has an interactive map on their website, and that'll show you the specific requirements for each state. So each exam consists of exam questions, 2 case studies, and 30 to 45 minutes of break time. The exam questions consist of 5 types, from multiple choice to drag and place to fill in the blank. And exams range from 65 to 100 questions. Now your break time can be split up into little smaller breaks, or you can just take it all at one time. I always like to take it all at one time because getting in and out of the exam room is such a pain. They gotta wand you with a metal detector, they gotta check your pockets, sign you in and out. Sometimes there's a line, and if you took your break all the way up to like a minute or 2 before your break's over, you're gonna have to wait, and when you get back in there, your exam's gonna be ticking. So then come the case studies. You're gonna wanna leave a lot of time for these because you'll spend every last second looking through all the materials to try to find the answers. Case studies are application-based. You'll get a prompt, a small set of drawings, a program, and then an assortment of documents ranging from zoning ordinances to international building codes to geotechnical reports. They'll ask you a series of questions, and you'll have to sift through the hundreds of pages of documentation to try to piece together your answer based on your ability to apply the information. Most of the documentation is irrelevant though, so you'll need to use your judgment to know what to skip past. Now these exams are tough. There's no getting around that. People usually spend anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months studying for each exam, and there's no guarantee you'll pass. Every architect that I know, including myself, has failed at least one exam. To show just how difficult these are, we can look at the pass rates from NCARB. The toughest exam is under 50% pass rate, and only 63% of people pass the easiest exam. And a side note, you can look at the pass rates for each architecture school individually if you want some help choosing which school you should go to. Now the exams are long. You're gonna be exhausted by the time you finish. The exams are anywhere from 3 hours and 20 minutes to 5 hours. And from my experience, most people need the entire allotment of time. So not only are the exams very difficult and very long, but they're also very expensive, just like everything else in architecture. Each exam is $235, so if you do manage to pass each one on your first go, you're gonna spend over $1,400 just taking the tests. Want to cancel your test? That'll be another $100. All right, so let's talk about some positives. You can take these exams in any order at any time. You could take one every other month and finish in a year, or you could take one every day and finish in a week. It's totally up to you and what you've got going on in your life. A lot of people start with the easiest exam first to get some practice and build up some confidence. That's what I would recommend. I took one of the more difficult exams first without realizing it, and I failed it. And I didn't take another exam for a year because I was so discouraged. You can take an exam at one of the testing centers that are partnered with NCARB, or you can even take one online at home 24/7. That's a new testing method that was born out of the pandemic, and luckily it looks like it's here to stay. So one of the more recent changes to the AREs was when they switched from the 4.0 to the 5.0 system that we're under now. When they switched to that system, it gave you the ability to get your test results instantly, before you leave the computer, before you leave the testing center. Previously, in NCARB's 4.0 system, you had to wait 2 weeks or so before you got your exam results. So you'd take your exam, you'd go home, and then every day you would just meticulously check NCARB's website to see if your exam results were up yet. And it wasn't like, oh, it'll be 2 weeks from the day you take your exam to get your results. It kind of depended what day you took it. I think if you took it on a Saturday or Sunday, it would take a little longer, and if you took it on a weekday, you get them a little faster. Every day, I'd wake up and the first thing I would do would be to check my results. Needless to say, I was either gonna have a great day or a terrible day. But now with the 5.0 system, you finish your exam on the computer, and then before you're done, it asks, do you wanna see your results? So you have to sit there and think, do I think I passed this, or do I think I failed this? Because if I think I failed this and I say, yeah, show me my results, I'm going to instantly be so mad that I just spent 5 hours taking this test and 2 or 3 weeks studying before that, and it's all down the drain before I even leave the building. So on my last exam, I felt pretty good about it. And I hit that button and I found out I passed my last one, and man, I was so happy walking out of there knowing I never had to go back in, never had to study again, never had to take another exam. That was a good feeling. So the last thing you have to keep in mind when testing is the rolling clock. Basically, you have 5 years from the day you passed your first exam to pass your final exam. If you don't pass your final exam within that 5 years, your first pass exam will expire and you'll have to take it again. You see this kind of thing happen a lot when someone goes through a big life change. Like maybe they have kids, they're making a big move, planning a wedding, etc. A lot of things can get in the way, so the best thing you can do is make a plan and stick to it. All right, we're almost there. Step 5, apply for licensure. Once you've completed your AXP hours, you've passed all 6 AREs, and you've passed any other exams that your state might require, you are finally ready to apply for licensure. So first, you'll need to apply to your state's licensing body. In Texas, that's TBAE, or the Texas Board of Architectural Examiners. This is the body that's going to maintain your active license. And in Texas, that application is going to run you $100. Next, you'll have to go to an approved location to get your fingerprints taken. This was a nationwide law that was passed in 2014. Fingerprint costs will vary based on location, but in Texas, it seems like it's generally about $40. Now, after applying and fingerprinting, in about a week or two, you'll receive notification that you are officially licensed. You did it. You made it through architecture school and internships and working crazy hours while trying to study for those damn AREs, and you finally made it. Congrats! Not everyone makes it this far. Now you might be wondering about getting your stamp. Turns out, after all the time and money you spent on your license, the stamp doesn't come with it. So you're gonna have to get your own. They'll provide you with a digital stamp, and if you want to get a physical one made, you'll either need to take it to a local stamp shop or find a place online. So step 6, the final step, maintenance. Even though you met all the requirements to become an architect, it doesn't stop there. You got to maintain your license every year, and there's a couple steps to that. So every year you'll have to maintain your license through your state jurisdiction, which in Texas is another $110. Now NCARB will strongly suggest that you continue to pay them $250 each year, but this one's not necessary. Now if you plan to move to a different state in the near future and you want to be licensed there, I would recommend to continue paying NCARB because they make it easy to get reciprocity in other states. Now if you're staying put, there's no need to keep paying NCARB. Just keep in mind, if you do move to another state in the future and want to be licensed there, you will have to pay back all the overdue fees to NCARB. Now, if you want to be a member of the AIA or American Institute of Architects, your firm will most likely pay for your membership. If not, it's not worth joining unless you really have a compelling reason, because the annual dues are almost $1,000. Most architects I know are members, but only because their work pays for it. The last piece of maintaining your license is completing your CEU requirement. CEU stands for Continuing Education Unit, and they most commonly consist of a 1-hour presentation during lunch on a material, an installation method, or something related to the practice of architecture. You'll need to complete 12 of these every year, or 18 if you're an AIA member, and the CEUs need to fall into a few different categories. Now, if you don't complete these, you'd be in danger of losing your license if you were audited by your licensing board. Well, if you were hoping to hear that becoming an architect is cheap or fast or easy, sorry to crush your dreams. Becoming an architect is a long, arduous process that most people don't complete. Only 64% of people that complete an accredited degree and start their AXP program become licensed. And that percentage doesn't even account for those who dropped out before completing their degree. According to NCARB, it takes an average of 13 years to become an architect, from starting school to getting licensed. So a little about me, my name's Matt. I'm an architect in Dallas working in the education market sector. I've been working for a little over 8 years and I've been licensed for about 5. I'm originally from Pennsylvania and I went to Penn State to get a 5-year accredited Bachelor of Architecture degree. It personally took me 9 years to become an architect, and it was a difficult process. I considered dropping out of architecture school after just 2 years, and I got so discouraged after failing my first exam that it took me a year to try again. But if you're determined and disciplined, you can reach your goal. It just takes time. I really hope this information was useful to you guys, and if you have any questions about the process in general or my personal journey to become an architect, let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.